So, after so many years using Shimano parts, I finally decided to switch to SRAM. This transition already started around 1 year ago when I installed my SRAM red crankset, but recently I decided to go full electronic because the SRAM rival was not too expensive and I don't need a full group set but just the shifters, the rear derailleur, and that's all. So for this build I choose to change a little bit my gear ratio. With Shimano, it's about 3 or 4 years that I use a 42 tooth chainring and an 1136 in the back. The cassette was always a Sunrace cassette. It's still immaculate, but this time I would try to change a little bit the gear ratio because it's a 12 speed. So I chose to use a 44 tooth on the front and in a 1044 on the back. So I will get a pretty decent gear ratio all around the cassette with a 1:1 gear ratio for the steep climb. So we will check how this new gear ratio works for me. At the same time, I will go fully integrated with the cable using this handlebar. So let's go straight into the build now. I didn't film the whole bleeding procedure because it was the first time that I bleed a SRAM system and I did a big mess. So there was nothing to show, but at the end I did it and the two brakes feel so well now. Another problem was related to the new SRAM 12-speed cassette. I changed the free hub from SHIMANO to SRAM. I installed a new cassette, I torqued it very well, but the problem was that looking at my old cassette, the new one, the SRAM one, top cap of the free hub didn't exit so much. So the result was the cassette really flush with this top cap, and the little sprocket was so close to the frame, so close that the wheel didn't spin at all. So at the end I was sure that there was no spacer, but I found this 1/8mm spacer on the bottom of the cassette. So I take away the spacer, I retorque the new one, but even if now the cassette had more space between the little sprocket and the frame, there was not enough space for the chain between the little sprocket to the frame. So I think the problem maybe should be solved with a specific rear angle. I already asked the Carbonda support service if there is a specific 12-speed rear angle. At the moment I found a pretty decent solution, so I simply take away a little spacer from a true axle that I had. It's a 2mm spacer, and I put it on the new cassette. I put it between the rear angle and the top cap. Anyway, I think this specific frame needs a specific rear angle for 12-speed. The spacer solution worked, but it caused another problem. It means that putting a 2mm spacer between the rear angle and the cassette pushed out the chainstays to the right, and by consequence the shifter and the chain was too much out of axle. I tried to adjust the rear angle with this self-made rear derailleur alignment tool. It worked a little bit, but the shifting was not so good. So 1 week ago I asked Carbonda if they have a specific 12-speed rear derailleur angle. I bought 3 of them just to have a spare. Today it did arrive. I installed immediately on my bike, replacing this little spacer. Also with the spacer, the shifting was not too bad. The main problem was the amount of noise that the cassette and the front chainring made. It was unbelievably noisy. Now, just with 1mm difference, with a specific rear angle, the whole system was way better.